The methane blast in a coal mine is only the trigger because the coal dust it throws into the air is what actually kills everyone. On October 14, 1913, an explosion at the Universal Colliery in Senghenydd, Wales, killed 439 miners and one rescuer. It's still the worst mining disaster in British history. The blast itself never reached most of those men. A wall of burning coal dust did, sweeping through galleries the flame alone left cold. The miners who survived that rolling fire didn't stay lucky for long. An invisible gas the blast had trapped in the dark crept along the workings and took most of the rest. The physics behind all of it hadn't changed in over a century. Neither had the habit of writing down a warning and then ignoring it. To see how dust outkills the gas that lit it, you've got to start with the gas. Miners gave that gas a name long before anyone understood it. They called it Firedamp, and it's almost always plain methane. Methane seeps out of the coal seam on its own, and it burns easily. Methane is lighter than air, so it pools in the high pockets and dead ends of a mine. It hides in exactly the corners where a tired crew stops checking. Mixed into the air between 5 and 14%, one spark turns it from fuel into a bomb. Just 5 parts in 100, and the air itself is ready to blow. That's the entire margin a miner's open flame needs to set off the seam. Humphrey Davy built his safety lamp in 1815 to keep a bare flame clear of the fire damp. For 100 years, every miner knew the gas was the enemy down there. Every man underground was watching the wrong killer. But fire damp is only where the dying starts. When the methane lights, the explosion is just the opening move. The pressure wave from that first blast races down the tunnel ahead of the flame. It scours fine coal dust off every surface and throws it into the air. Now the air inside the gallery has become the fuel. The flame front slams into that cloud, and a second, far larger explosion erupts. Picture a tunnel as a cannon barrel and the rolling flame as the shell. This is the secondary dust explosion, and it feeds itself as it travels. Each blast lifts more dust, which fuels the next blast, carving through the mine for miles. The methane did nothing but light the match. The coal dust burned the whole mine down. Owners had understood this chain reaction for generations. And the fix had been sitting in plain sight for just as long. You spread crushed limestone, called rock dust, through every working tunnel. When the blast wave lifts that limestone up with the rising powder, the stone absorbs the heat. It pulls in the radiant energy that would otherwise preheat the next wave of coal particles. Cooled below its ignition point, the flame front simply dies. Rock dusting was cheap, it was simple, and the whole industry knew it worked. A few wagon loads of stone dust would have starved any explosion of its fuel. The owners at the Universal Colliery decided to skip it anyway. And skipping the dust control wasn't a one-time lapse at this pit. 12 years before the disaster, the very same mine had already exploded once. In May 1901, a blast at the Universal Colliery killed 81 miners. The owners were told plainly that watering the dust down would lower the danger. They read that warning and chose to do nothing about it. Then the law itself caught up with the whole industry. The Coal Mines Act of 1911 ordered every pit to fit reversible ventilation fans. Those fans can flip the airflow to clear gas and smoke after a blast. The deadline to install them was the 1st of January 1913. Senghenydd did nothing, so the pit won an extension all the way to that September. And once again, the pit missed that second cutoff too. On October 14, 1913, every one of those gaps came due together. A spark somewhere in the Universal Colliery lit the fire damp. The dust wave did the rest, exactly the way the science had promised. 439 miners and one rescuer never rode back up the shaft. Even the rescue itself cost a life, one of the men sent down to save the others. The inquest ruled that basic safety rules had been broken across the pit. Edward Shaw, the colliery manager in 1913, was convicted of those breaches and fined £24. The company itself was found guilty of failing to fit the reversible fans. Its fine for that particular failure came to £10. £10 set against 439 dead miners and 1 dead rescuer. A local paper, the Merthyr Pioneer, did the division for everyone. It worked out to roughly 5.5 pence for each man killed. That was the whole price British law put on a miner's life that year. You'd expect a death toll like that to ruin the men who owned the pit. Instead, the courts treated 439 dead miners as a minor line in the ledger. But the fine wasn't even the cruelest part of the story. You'd assume the men killed that day all died in the blast itself. A huge share of them met a different end entirely. A coal explosion burns straight through the oxygen in the air. In its place, it floods the tunnels with poisonous gas. Miners had a name for that ruined air, and they called it Afterdamp. Afterdamp is mostly carbon monoxide, the same gas that kills sleeping families through a cracked furnace. It carries no smell and no color, and it works astonishingly fast. A man can breathe it without ever knowing and simply fold to the floor. A survivor of the blast and the dust still had to outrun the Afterdamp. The same gas that traps the miners also hunts the rescuers sent to save them. A great many of them never reached the surface alive. Now look again at that Chinese mine and what investigators actually reported. Authorities said a carbon monoxide alarm had gone off underground before the explosion. It meant the gas had already climbed well past its safe limit. The mine kept running anyway, with hundreds of workers still below ground. 247 men had gone down that shift, expecting to come home. On May 22, 2026, the blast killed at least 82 of them. It was China's deadliest mine disaster in over a decade. Afterward, the state news agency reported that the executives running the mine had been detained. The country's leader ordered a full investigation into what went wrong. As of late May, the official cause of the blast still hasn't been published, but the pattern across more than a century is hard to miss. A warning gets written down, the warning gets ignored, and the miners pay for it. Not every nation answered its disasters with a £10 fine, though. The worst mine blast in American history killed at least 362 men at Monongah in 1907. By 1910, Washington had built the United States Bureau of Mines to study exactly this. Britain answered its dead with a token fine of £10. America stood up a permanent national institution instead. The physics never cared which response anyone picked. The methane lights the spark, and the coal dust multiplies it into a mine-wide blast. Then the Afterdamp finishes off whoever the fire missed. Every mine that skips the rock dust is running that same experiment all over again. If an invisible gas finishing off the survivors of a coal blast unsettled you, the carbon monoxide survival video is right here on Sketchy Survival.